WIBTA if I invite my ex-fiancée's dad to my wedding? Sorry, but this is gonna be a bit long. I was with my ex-fiancée for 5 years. When we were just months into our relationship, I lost my dad in a car accident. He was the only parent I had left since mom passed when I was 12 to breast cancer. My dad was always a good guy and dad, but ever since mom died he stepped up big time for me and became the best dad he could be for me, even though he was struggling with mom's death. He never dated after her because he always said she was the love of his life and that he'd rather die alone than with someone else, and because he heard way too many horror stories about horrible stepmoms and didn't want anyone interfering in my relationship with him. So losing him when I was 22 and just graduated college was tough on me, but my then girlfriend Emily's family took me in as one of their own, her younger brothers took me in as one of their own, and her parents treated me like a son, especially her dad George. One time a few nights after Dad's funeral I was over at Emily's house and I sat at midnight with her dad alone in their porch and I just cried, talked about Dad. SND George just listened to me and comforted me and even hugged me and let me cry on his shoulders, telling me it's gonna be alright and that they're all there for me. Ever since that night he treated me like a son completely and even took me out to do stuff just with the two of us alone, and he always called me son. He was still a great dad to his kids, but I felt he put in more for me to make me feel included and loved, which I always loved and appreciated about him. I even started calling him Dad sometimes out of respect and love for him, which I knew made him happy and proud by the look in his face whenever I said it. I still loved my dad and will always do. But I love George nearly as much. I even asked for his permission when I finally decided to propose to his daughter last year of our relationship, and he accepted and shook my hand and hugged me and told me to always take care of his little girl and that he's happy for us, and gave me his permission to ask her, which she accepted. He offered to pay for our wedding as a gift, which I was very grateful about, and we accepted. But just months before the wedding I found out she was cheating on me for well over a year and was planning to marry me and get a divorce a few months later to screw me out of the house my dad left me so that she and her partner could move in together. I called off the wedding and thankfully nothing was in her name yet, and she never lived with me, so she absolutely had no rights to my house or any of my assets. I had hundreds of messages between her and her partner discussing how they're gonna screw me over, and I showed her family. They were so upset and angry with her, especially her dad, and he personally came over and apologized for what she did. I told him that it wasn't any of his fault and that didn't change how I saw him. We tried to be close afterwards, but my ex flipped out and demanded they all cut contact with me or she'd cut all of them off. Her dad called me one last time sad, telling me he had to cut contact because she was his little girl at the end of the day. I thanked him for everything and told him I still love him and his family, and told him to tell them all goodbye. He wished me a happy life, and that was the last I ever heard of any of them. Or that's what his family thinks, because we stayed secretly in contact, not as much as before obviously, but we kept checking in every once in a while because he genuinely loved me and I loved him back, and at that point it had nothing to do with his daughter. He was like an uncle to me. It's been 3 years since we broke up and I've moved on, and months later I started dating one of my closest childhood friends' little sister, who's a widower and a single mom of 2 beautiful little girls after her brother pushed us into it saying we'd be perfect together. Her late husband passed away 5 years ago in a car crash while she was still pregnant with their second daughter, which made me closer to the girls since I lost my own dad the same way. The youngest wasn't even born when it happened and is still too young to understand things, but the older daughter is 9 years old and she remembers her daddy, and she talks to me all the time about him and how much she loves and misses him, and she asks whether he's in heaven right now, and I tell her of course, and he's looking down at her and that he's so proud of her and her sister, and she always gets so happy. 2 months ago, with her father's approval, which is a cultural thing here, I proposed to her and she said yes, and we kissed and cried. The girls were with us and they were so happy and excited and were clapping for us. We've been planning our wedding, which is next month, and we're finalizing our guest list, and honestly I want to invite George because he stayed in contact and was happy and supportive of me when I got with my fiancée, but I know that it's gonna cause so much drama, but honestly he's really one of the few people that I have left that are family to me, and I want him there. My fiancée is completely aware and supportive of our relationship and friendship and says it's completely up to me. Would I be an a-hole if I quietly invite just him, or would it be too far and awkward? Any reasonable advice would really help. Thanks, folded hands. Update. Hey, I'm posting this from a different account because I got suspended on my original account for some reason. So pretty much all of you suggested I invite him over and just see what happens, and honestly that's what I was planning to do, but you all just gave me the courage to do it, and I did it early this morning. Thanks to all of you, folded hands. So I texted him good morning. When he responded I asked whether we could talk on the phone and he said of course, and so I called him. After some small talk I told him that he's under no pressure and that it's completely up to him, but that I'd love for him to be there at my wedding, not just as some guest but as a close family member. I told him that the invitation is open to him and his entire family, including his wife and the boys and even my ex if she wanted, since if it meant he'd be there then I'd be open to it. He got emotional and wished me a happy wedding and said he's honored that I still respect him that much, and promised me that at least he'd definitely be there for me, but wasn't sure about his family and that he'd get back to me about it. A few hours later he called me back excited, saying that he talked with his wife and family and that they're all coming. He said that my ex has no problem with it and actually told him to wish me good luck. He then invited me over to their place for dinner later tonight because she wanted to apologize for how things went between us, and he told me to bring my fiancé and the little girls over because he and his wife wanted to meet them, especially the girls because she loves children. I was so happy to hear that and told him I'd ask her if she was comfortable with it, and he said of course. I talked with my fiancé about everything and she's been so happy for me because she knows how much George means to me, and she agreed to go with me and the girls tonight. I went and got one of those chocolate gift baskets with a nice whiskey bottle inside and an official invitation. Thanks to all of you.